Right.
Yeah. So imagine there's an Ebola crisis in the United States. You personally don't know much about the disease, but you're seeing all these facts being posted on social media, and you're starting to become scared. So wouldn't it be really nice if you actually knew facts about the disease and were well educated in the subject? So today, I'm here to tell you more about the disease and give you some true facts and that threw our country into a frenzy not so long ago. So today, we are going to talk about what Ebola is and where it originated, the signs and symptoms of the disease, how it's transmitted, and how to prevent it. So let's go ahead and get started on what Ebola is and where it originated. According to the CDC, the Ebola virus is actually previously known as Ebola hemorrhagic fever and is a rare and deadly disease. The CDC states that the Ebola virus is caused by Ebola virus strain getting infected into a person. According to Rachel Retner with Life Science, she says that the first human Ebola outbreak was traced back to 1976 in the Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. That specific outbreak actually sickened more than 600 people. Retner says that the reservoir for Ebola actually tested approximately 1,000 small animals in the Central African nations that had outbreaks occur in those areas. And they said that the bats were the only animals that were tested that actually carried the disease. So, what are the warning signs and symptoms? According to the CDC, it takes anywhere from 2 to 21 days for symptoms and signs to appear after exposure. So what are these symptoms? It's fever, severe headache, muscle pain, fatigue, weakness, diarrhea, vomiting, stomach pain, and unexplained hemorrhage. So according to the World Health Organization, it says that these symptoms alone aren't going to help you decide whether the person actually has Ebola, because those symptoms are also linked to other life-threatening illnesses such as typhoid fever, malaria, and meningitis. So it's going to require further testing to be done to decide whether the symptoms are due to the Ebola virus or any other number of viruses. So how is this disease transmitted? Well, we heard a lot of myths about how the disease was transmitted during the recent outbreak. But according to the CDC, that natural host of the disease isn't actually for sure. It's not scientifically proven. Even though we think it's bats, we're not sure. But an animal infects the human first for an outbreak to occur. So the human-to-human transmission is really what's going to concern us here in the U.S. So how does it happen? It's through direct contact. And that's not saying that you can just touch somebody with Ebola and you get Ebola. It's not like that. It's not airborne. You can't get it through the water, according to the CDC. They say it's through direct contact through broken skin or any of your mucous membranes, like your nose, your mouth, or your eyes. So if that comes in contact with the bodily fluids or blood of a person that has the Ebola virus, then you're likely to get it. So these bodily fluids, according to the CDC, they state that they include but aren't limited to sweat, saliva, breast milk, vomit, feces, or semen. You can also get the disease through syringes or needles that were used by somebody that had the Ebola virus. So, how do you prevent a disease like this? Well, if you're going to go to an area where the disease is prevalent, then there's some precautions you need to take. According to the CDC, here's some steps that you must follow. So you need to be extremely careful with your hygiene. You need to make sure that you don't come in contact with the bodily fluids or blood of somebody that has died from the disease or actually has the disease currently. It's also advised not to come in contact with non-human primates or bats. In the book Ebola Virus in October 2014, A.L. Alexandria actually states some of the precautions that hospitals and healthcare systems need to take. They say that personal protective equipment needs to be worn. And that's special equipment and clothing that's worn whenever you're actually in the room with an Ebola patient. Here is a visual provided to us by UC Davis Health Systems on November 6, 2014. As you can see here, if you have broken skin, it's completely covered by the gloves, the surgical hair cover, the apron, everything's covered. Your mucous membranes are covered, so the likelihood of you getting Ebola while wearing PPE is extremely unlikely. So according to the World Health Organization, in the hospital setting, basic hygiene needs to be very, very good as usual, and more precautions need to be taken if there's an Ebola patient there. The CDC actually concurs with Alexandria on PPE. They also say that if there's a patient with Ebola, they need to be isolated from the rest of the patients. They also say that they need to be protected and not let any of their skin or mucous membranes come in contact with the remains of people that have died from Ebola. So, in conclusion, I've given you a very brief overview of Ebola. So I want you to remember that the Ebola virus started in 1976 and is rare and deadly. I also want you to remember that the signs and symptoms are very similar to typhoid fever, malaria, and meningitis. So if you have the symptoms, it doesn't exactly mean that you have Ebola. It could be another life-threatening illness. Also, you need to remember that the disease is not airborne or waterborne. It is only contracted through the direct contact of broken skin or mucous membranes with blood or bodily fluids of somebody that has died or has the Ebola disease. And also, to prevent the disease, it is so great to have good hygiene and to just, if at all possible, stay completely away from somebody that has Ebola or an area that is affected with Ebola. So I hope that I have educated you all on the subject of Ebola, and maybe you guys can go and educate somebody else about the disease. So if there's another outbreak, then we'll be able to lessen worldwide panic and give educated and factual information about the disease. Thank you.